Let's bring in host and legal analyst from the Law and Crime Network, Terri Austin, for more on this. Terri, good morning. Really quickly on the jury sequestration question, could Eric Nelson be gearing up to create a case for appeal already with that?
I think Nelson is definitely gearing up for appeal. He's been taking notes the whole time for any issue that could possibly grant his client some relief. And the sequestration, he has already said that he thought the jury should all along be kept separate from the public so they wouldn't be seeing what's going on in the news. And we know for a fact that the jurors have seen some things going on in the news because the judge has spoken to them. So I think that might be an issue that he could take up on appeal.
Now, the prosecution is preparing to rest their case today. Overall, do you think they successfully made their case beyond a reasonable doubt?
I do, because if you think about it, they have established that this use of force was unreasonable. We saw that the last witness, which was Stoughton, and he was amazing. He was from an academic perspective, but he broke it down to the jury as though looking at use of force was a science, and technically it is. You're supposed to be assessing the circumstance, assessing the threat, making sure that the force you use is in response to the threat, and whether or not that was reasonable. And he gave his opinion that this was not reasonable force, and that's going to go to the manslaughter count. And I think the prosecution, if they've established nothing else, they've definitely established that this was not reasonable, and that would be that manslaughter count.
And Terri, yesterday we heard some emotional testimony from George Floyd's brother, and the goal of that spark of life testimony is to humanize the victim. But the judge also warned that if those witnesses venture too far into testifying about George Floyd's character, that could open the door for the defense to be allowed to talk about his criminal history. Do you think there's a risk that Courtney Ross, George Floyd's girlfriend, or Philonise Floyd, that their testimony may have ventured into that territory?
I thought they kept it very tight. They did a great job of making sure they didn't go into his character in that regard. They just talked about the fact that he was a loving son and a loving father, and they kept it very, very tight so there wouldn't be any chance that it opened the door to getting into his character. So great job. I think they could have done a little bit more in terms of his giving back to the community or other things like that that occurred when George Floyd was an adult versus the childhood, but I think that they were being cautious not to make sure they opened that door.
All right. Terri Austin, always great to have your analysis. Thank you, and we will see you a little bit later for our continuing coverage of the trial of Derek Chauvin. Thanks, Terri.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.